Got it. Hey, I'm Dr. Pilet, and the topic I want to discuss is, or it's a question, if you will. And I want you to think about this question. Take your time, process it within your mind. You might even close your eyes and get to that inner space. But are you a human doing, or are you a human being? Or you can flip it. Are you a human being, or are you a human doing? Now, it sounds like a pun of sorts, but it's very deep philosophically. Because what we're asking is for you to recognize your identity as a Homo sapien, as a living creature. That you're much more than the external appearances, that there's a lot of internal to you. And you all know from this class or from things that I've taught you that everything you are today is the direct result of some experience you had in life. Your entire emotional battery and everything that makes you up is rearward looking. Your successes and your failures, your graduations, your terminations, are all part of things that have happened in your past, and they have accumulatively, singularly, or in combination, resulted in the building of your character. You've heard the expression, I've changed. Well, that's a heavy burden for each of us, and a challenge to most of us, to change. But what it implies is I've looked at my past, I've brought the good to the present, with personal resolve, have made a committed, dedicated effort to change those factors that I consider limiting. And the person I am today is the person by decision. The person by decision. The first 20 years of your life are spent being told what to do, who to be. But the rest of your life is a decision by you of who you've decided to be, which is where we have to take inventory and make a decision of those changes we want to make that result in the new persona, the new person, who you really are. You all agree with that? So the idea, human doing versus human being. Reflectively look in your mind and think about those times in your life that were you really busy. And I'm sure you've had them, where you had to get up extra early because you had more to do than you can humanly do in one day. So you took the initiative to get up a little early. You might have even had a power breakfast because you were that well organized. But as you took off to your goals of the day, which were much more than usual, at the end of the day, you blew right through 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, whatever time it was that you were supposed to get up, and you just kept on churning away to the point of being tired. You go home at night, you're so tired. You take a shower, you brush your teeth, comb your hair, you lay down in bed, boom, it's over. Wow. What happened to that day? If I asked you what happened at 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock, you couldn't tell me any point in time what you accomplished or what you did. You just know it was a busy, busy day. A day that was filled with challenges, and a day that you brought up energy that you didn't know you had to get it all done. And you went to bed feeling good. Guess what? That's what I call a human doing. The idea that you've mechanically put yourself into such a power state that you've accomplished incredible things, and you did a lot. The problem is, you're a human being. Human being, from the word to be. Look it up. Look up. You know that several hundred years ago, there was actually a trial in the Midwest. I read this. Don't ask me to reference, I can't tell you right now. But it had to do with an American Indian that was killed in a small town by someone, shot him. And it has to do with a time in American history when there was actually a reward for killing Indians. Because at that point, Indians were considered savages, and believe it or not, they were considered not human or subhuman. So killing Indians and bringing back scalps, you actually got a reward. Kind of sick, isn't it, that we can reflect back on what that was hundreds of years ago. But there was a trial because as civilization had grown in its idea of understanding the preciousness of life, there was an Indian, a person that was killed in a small town. And the sheriff arrested the person that had shot the Indian, the Native American. And there was some discussion about how can we have a trial for a human being killing a non-human. Holy crap. What? Yeah, there was actually those people that said, well, Indians aren't human. They're something else. So how can you bring to trial somebody for shooting someone, this is back in the 1800s, that truly isn't considered one of us? But what was cool, and I thought this was worth mentioning, that one of the things that got through at that time to all those people was that emotions of all the people and of all the creatures in the animal kingdom, none cry from emotional pain, but humans. We cry, we weep, we shed real tears. Now you might think your dog or your cat cries, but so far we haven't figured that that's related to emotions. But when there was an idea about, well, wait, Indians, they cry. Remember, they didn't have DNA testing back then. They didn't have a lot of the things we have today to cross this gap. But the idea that the showing of emotions is a human event, so far, selectively attributed to being human. When you cry, it's because you have a connection to your humanity, to your persona, that causes you such emotional pain and suffering that you weep. Now let's go back to the idea about, are you a human being or a human doing? Because the idea that the experience of life not just is about anger or pain, but it's also about joy and happiness. The idea that you can cultivate, that you can design, that you can schedule, manifest joy in your life. Joy in your life is the very essence of being human. The idea that I'm a human being isn't about pain and suffering, although that's a part of it. It's really about how much can I manifest in my life that is joyful. And now we come to that wonderful four-letter word called love. You cannot manifest love if you're a human doing. You can't, and it won't happen. You can go to work at 4 o'clock, decide to go to work at 5 o'clock, work till 11 o'clock, and you come home and those people that want to emotionally bond to you can't, because you're spent. You're done. Your brain is still racing from the things you did today and planning for the things to do tomorrow, and you're spent. But now we get to the problem that we truly have today, soon to be 2015, that many of us are cultivated at birth, or should say we're cultivated an emotional idea or concept from birth on, that to be successful is all about working hard. It's all about having the big house and a nice car and having all those possessions and those things that go with a college degree or a specialized degree, whether it be carpentry and electrical, whatever it is. But you've been, if you will, taught from a very early age that you got to be a human doing to be successful. And that's not true, is it? Because if you truly do, like I said, that wonderful example before, from 4 in the morning to late at night, you are not emotionally available for anybody. So to be a human being is to be in touch with your emotions. Not just your emotions of who you are, but the emotions of others and who they are, to validate them for their feelings and their experiences. And then, hey, here's the big step. Remember this? Right? Understanding is mandatory. Agreeing is optional. See, that takes a big step in that whole idea of being a human being. Because to understand others, to be passionately involved with those around you that you connect to, is a graduation point from being a person to a couple or a family. The graduation point of connecting to others in an understanding way. I didn't say I got to agree. Nobody said you got to agree. I've had in this class a man not long ago who, in his first class, raised his head and says, raised his hand and said, I don't know why I'm here. And I said, well, okay. And then he told me, well, I've been married 22 years. That's why I don't belong here. When does length of time, when does tenacity, endurance have anything to do with quality? Just because you've owned a house for 100 years doesn't mean it's a house that shouldn't be plowed down. And if you're in a toxic, bad relationship and you're one of these people that says, you know, let's don't talk about it. I heard that on TV about why has your marriage been so successful so long? And his response was, because we don't talk about the things that we don't agree about. Well, I call that a friendship, and I think you can stay together for a lot of years in friendship, but to raise yourself to that idea of love, and I'll give you my definition for whatever it's worth. Love is a process, not a destination. Love is a process, not a destination. It's an assertive, assertive decision to collaboratively problem solve, collaborative means to work together, that we may stay together. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's about we. And yes, I do change when it's for a purpose, and if that purpose is for me as an emotional creature and you as an emotional creature to form a basis for not me being alone, but us together as a family, yes. Why? Simply because A plus B does not equal C. A plus B equals AB, and your children are the combination of both of you. So why shouldn't your household be the combination of the both of you? Where is it your values and your values shouldn't be brought together to equal values that, or because your kids, what do they have? But the very roots and foundations of each of you. Yes, you're not like your partner, and your partner's not like you, but your kids are. So the idea, are you an emotional being? Are you a human being? Or are you a human doing? And a lot of times when I work with men, I've got to teach them that. Who are you emotionally? Have you thought about it? Because typically they will spiel off all they've got to do. The challenge is the debt. I'm behind on my payments. I don't have a job. There's not a lot of jobs out there. Or other issues. My mom's sick. My dad's sick. The kids aren't doing it in school. All those things. And they truly are facts of life that do affect our ability, our capacity to keep this thing up here positive. The brain, the mind. But the challenge is truly quite different, because a lot of people, when they find themselves in pain, what do? They jump into being active. Don't stop, don't think, keep moving. Don't stop, don't think, keep moving. And as they continue to spin up in their activities and time passes, there's an expression that I don't believe to be true. You ever hear this one? Time heals all wounds. Nah, time doesn't heal any wounds. You're going to have a scar. It lasts a long time. But I think of it more like this. There's a boat on the horizon, and as time passes, it moves away. And after a while, you can't see it over the horizon, but it's still there. And then one day, stress, which would be metaphorically a storm, brings that lost boat closer to your shore, and you relive it. And that's why many times your relationships and the relationships afterwards that don't succeed because those past memories are brought to the present. Now that you're in a relationship where you're attempting to have an emotional bond to another person. See, a lot of times the problems of the past don't occur because the newness of this relationship hasn't hit stress yet. And when it hits stress, then that old stuff comes back up and you relive it. So when we have this idea of being a human being, and we have this idea that happiness and love and prosperity are truly meant for you, really meant for you, and as you get your life out of balance from being a human doing and become more of a human being, it is incredibly challenging. Because you have to find new ways to express yourself. And a holiday season like Christmas is a perfect way. Because what do? We buy, with more money, bigger gifts, which are the result of working more hours to show expressions of love. But that's not what it's about, is it? That's not what it's about. Because the idea of the expression of love is a human connection. It's a connection of emotions. It's a bond that occurs over time. But it's a celebration and acknowledgement that it exists. Yeah, the token can be the present. But in my world, warning, if it is, because if the happiness in your family is only rated by the size of the gifts, you guys are in trouble, man. You guys are in trouble. And sometimes when I ask families about how was their holiday season, and they say, well, what do you mean? I said, well, tell me about it. And they tell me about all the things that were presented as gifts. I say, oh, okay, that's great. But at the same time, I would ask you to understand that what I'm really looking for is, how did you enjoy that holiday? Now, if you will, and you get a chance, you don't see me on Facebook, but you might find me on we had one of those expressions, and I put it out there. And so what we did is we took a Christmas carol and reworded it. Put us all together in front of my phone, and we showed it to the world. And my kids just love it. And I'll play it for you. Now, the idea was that we brought everybody together for 30 seconds to do something special. And that's just one of the things that we did. Louder. Watch Ryan. Watch Ryan. Isn't that cool? Now, what did that cost? Little time just to think about it. And we wrote the words, we put them down on a piece of paper. What did it take? I was over at MacDill Air Force Base. They have frisbee golf. And you'll see the little baskets with the chains. Okay? So by design, I took the 7 kids and each could throw to the basket, and then I put them up age appropriately for their ability to hit the basket. I wanted them to have some spending money for Christmas. So for every time you got it in the net, you could be 10 cents or a quarter, a nickel, doesn't matter what it is. But the idea is you got 3 minutes. You throw it, hits the net, they got to run back to their point. We put frisbees on the ground so they would know where to be. And after 3 minutes, they were totally exhausted. But they had so much fun. And they're saying, well, I got $3 to spend on Christmas. Great. We took other things to do the same event. And then for Christmas Day itself, we do what's called hot and cold, which is still a tradition. And by the way, last night we were still hot and coaling, and tonight we'll hot and cold some more, because the gifts are spread out over several days. And now you get to hide a gift per child. And believe me, once you do this, they will not let you do it any other way. For the rest of your life, you're stuck with doing hot and cold. Because you try to give them a gift, and no, hot and cold, which means now you got to go hide the gift. And you put them in some place where they can't see where it's hid. And now you walk them, hot, 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 warm, warm, warm. When they turn the wrong way, cold, cold. When they start warm, warm, warm. When they get close, it's hot. But here's the cool part. You don't have to put the gifts in your house. You can put them in your trunk in your car. You can bring them to the next door neighbor and say, look, about 10 o'clock we'll be knocking on your door. Because they know one of the kids is coming, because you're screaming, hot, hot, and you're standing at the front. Are you sure? No. Emotions, human beings, the experience and the joy of wonderful things that you can create. That's what we need to work on. And the idea that love in a relationship is built by you on purpose. Remember what I said, love is a process, not a destination. When I say, how you doing? Well, I'm in love. Well, it's good. But what about the rest of it? How's the journey? What are you doing along this journey? How are you making it special? Because remember, for me to love you, it's got to be more than a paycheck. And truly, if your relationship, in some kind of misguided way, you've gotten into the problem of measuring each other by actions. Did you clean the house? Did you do the laundry? Did you wash the car? Did you go to work today? Did you bring home a paycheck? You will never be in a successful relationship in this lifetime. It ain't going to happen. Because we have to become a human being. We have to graduate to that point where it's not what you do that makes it important. It's being with you while we do it together that makes life important. And that's why I've given you that idea. Are you a human being? Are you human doing? Think about this. I hope you've enjoyed it.